Men, recognizing when a relationship is over isn't about waiting for her to explicitly break up with you. It's about noticing which conversations she systematically avoids, deflects, or shuts down. Because when a woman has mentally and emotionally exited a relationship, there are specific discussions she can no longer engage in honestly, and her avoidance of these critical conversations reveals she's already decided things are over, even if she hasn't said the words yet. Before we dive in, hit subscribe, smash that like and hype button, and drop a comment if you've ever tried repeatedly to have important conversations only to be met with avoidance, and later discovered she had already checked out. Your experience might help another man recognize that conversation avoidance isn't about being busy or stressed. It's about being done with the relationship while delaying the official ending. Conversation 1: Future plans and long-term vision. When you try to discuss anything involving future commitment or long-term planning, bringing up potential trips months away, mentioning moving in together eventually, discussing relationship milestones, talking about meeting each other's extended family, or any conversation that assumes ongoing relationship beyond the immediate present, and she deflects with vague statements, changes the subject, or becomes uncomfortable and wants to avoid the discussion entirely, she's not being cautiously optimistic or preferring to live in the moment. She's refusing to engage with future conversations because she doesn't see you in her future, and discussing plans she knows won't happen feels dishonest or creates commitment she doesn't want to make. What this reveals? This reveals she's no longer mentally projecting forward with you in her life. Women who see future with their partner naturally engage in future-oriented discussions because they're mentally including that person in their forward timeline. When future conversations become systematically avoided, it reveals she's not imagining you in those future scenarios and doesn't want to fake enthusiasm for plans she knows she won't be around to fulfill. Notice how specific her avoidance becomes. If you mention a concert 6 months away and she says, "Let's see closer to the time," if you bring up holiday plans and she deflects with, "I'm not thinking that far ahead," if you discuss summer vacation possibilities and she becomes vague about her availability, the consistent deflection of any timeline beyond immediate future reveals she's not planning to be with you long enough for those dates to arrive. Watch her emotional response to future discussions. If she seems uncomfortable, anxious, or even slightly guilty when you bring up future plans, if there's visible tension when you assume ongoing relationship, or if she seems relieved when the topic changes away from future, these emotional responses reveal that discussing future with you creates psychological discomfort because she knows she's deceiving you by not being honest about her intentions. Pay attention to whether she engages with immediate future but not distant future. If she'll make plans for next week but won't discuss anything a month or more away, the cutoff point reveals approximately how long she's planning to maintain the relationship facade. If nothing beyond 2 weeks is discussable, she's likely planning to end things within that time frame, or is simply maintaining things day by day without any intention of long-term continuation. Listen for the language she uses when forced to engage with future topics. If she says maybe, we'll see, if we're still together, or other conditional language that introduces doubt about relationship continuity, she's verbally hedging because she's already decided the relationship has an expiration date, even if she hasn't told you what that date is. Conversation 2: Relationship problems and areas needing improvement. When you try to address issues in the relationship, bringing up communication problems, discussing areas where you're feeling disconnected, mentioning patterns that concern you, or trying to problem-solve challenges you're facing together, and she shows complete disinterest in engaging with these discussions, responds with apathy or whatever you want, or seems bothered that you're even bringing up problems rather than interested in resolving them, she's not being avoidant of conflict or tired of relationship work. She's disengaged from improvement discussions because she's already decided to leave, making relationship problem-solving feel pointless since she won't be around long enough for improvements to matter. What this reveals? This reveals she's stopped investing energy in relationship maintenance and improvement. People who care about relationships' future engage with problems because they want things to get better. When someone becomes completely apathetic about issues, it's not because problems don't exist, it's because they've decided those problems are someone else's concern soon, not theirs to fix. Notice if she used to engage with relationship discussions but stopped. If you've had productive conversations about issues before, and suddenly she's completely disinterested in discussing anything relationship-related, the change reveals a shift in her investment level. She stopped engaging because she stopped caring about outcomes, which means she's mentally departed, even if physically still present. Watch whether her disengagement is about specific issues or all relationship topics. If she'll discuss surface-level things but shuts down any conversation about relationship dynamics, emotional connection, or anything requiring vulnerability and work, the selective avoidance reveals she's protecting herself from investing in relationships she's planning to leave. Pay attention to phrases that reveal disengagement. If she says, "I don't want to talk about this right now," and that right now never comes, "Can we just enjoy our time together?" Avoiding depth. You're overthinking things, dismissing your concerns, or "I don't know what you want me to say," refusing to engage. These deflection statements all serve to avoid conversations that would require her to either lie about her commitment or reveal she's already checked out. Consider how problems get handled or don't get handled. If issues that used to get discussed and worked through now just exist unaddressed, if your attempts to improve things are met with apathy, or if she seems content to let relationship deteriorate without trying to fix anything, the acceptance of relationship decline reveals she's not bothered by things getting worse because she's not planning to stick around to experience the full consequences. Conversation 3. Emotional intimacy and feelings. When you try to have emotionally intimate conversations, sharing your deeper feelings, asking about what she's experiencing emotionally, trying to understand her inner world, discussing your emotional connection, or attempting vulnerability and depth, and she keeps everything surface level, deflects emotional questions, shows discomfort with emotional openness, or actively resists conversations requiring emotional presence and authenticity, she's not being emotionally guarded or protecting herself appropriately. She's withdrawing emotional access because emotional intimacy requires investment she's no longer willing to make in relationship. She's planning to leave, and maintaining emotional distance makes the eventual departure less complicated. What this reveals? This reveals intentional emotional disconnection and self-protection from attachment. Emotional intimacy creates bonds that make leaving harder. When someone has decided to leave, they often unconsciously or consciously begin withdrawing emotional availability to protect themselves from deepening attachment to relationship they're exiting. The emotional unavailability isn't about temporary stress, it's about permanent repositioning. Notice if emotional conversations feel one-directional. If you're sharing your feelings, fears, hopes, or experiences, and she's responding minimally, without reciprocating with her own emotional content, the imbalance reveals she's not matching your vulnerability because she's maintaining emotional distance deliberately. Emotional reciprocity is fundamental to intimate relationships. Its absence reveals intentional withdrawal. Watch how she responds to your emotional expressions. If you share something meaningful and she gives surface-level acknowledgement without really engaging, if you're vulnerable and she seems uncomfortable or wants to move past it quickly, or if your emotional moments together feel hollow because she's not emotionally present, her discomfort with your emotions reveals she doesn't want the emotional intimacy that would strengthen bonds she's planning to break. Pay attention to what she shares versus what she withholds. If she'll tell you about her day, her work, her activities, all factual surface content, but won't share what she's feeling, struggling with, hoping for, or experiencing emotionally. The selective sharing reveals she's maintaining informational connection while eliminating emotional connection. You can know what she did without knowing who she is emotionally. Listen for emotional language or its absence. If conversations used to include feelings, emotional processing, and authentic expression, but now everything is factual and surface level. If she stopped saying "I feel" and only says "I think" or "I did," the linguistic shift away from emotional language reveals conscious or unconscious emotional withdrawal as preparation for departure. Conversation 4. Your needs and what you want from the relationship. When you try to express your needs, communicate what would make you feel more secure or connected. Discuss what you need from her to feel valued, or articulate reasonable expectations and desires for how the relationship should function. And she responds with defensiveness, resentment, or complete unwillingness to hear what you need, treating your needs as unreasonable demands or burdens rather than legitimate relationship requirements. She's not being unable to meet your needs temporarily. She's refusing to engage with your needs because she's not planning to meet them, and hearing what you need creates guilt or pressure she wants to avoid since she's already decided not to invest in fulfilling those needs. What this reveals? This reveals she's no longer motivated to contribute to your happiness or relationship satisfaction. When someone cares about relationship continuing, they want to understand partner's needs because meeting those needs strengthens the relationship. When someone has decided to leave, partner's needs become irrelevant or even annoying because they represent demands on someone who's already mentally departed. Notice the difference between can't meet needs and won't hear needs. If she's willing to listen to what you need and explains what she can or can't provide, that's honest communication. If she refuses to even engage with conversation about your needs, becomes defensive before you fully express them, or treats your needs as attacks on her, the refusal to hear reveals she doesn't want information about how to improve relationship because improvement isn't her goal. Watch whether she dismisses your needs as unreasonable. If your needs are standard relationship requirements, emotional availability, quality time, honest communication, affection, partnership and decisions, and she treats these as excessive demands or makes you feel needy for wanting basic relationship components, the framing of normal needs as unreasonable reveals she's not planning to provide them and would rather make you question your needs than acknowledge her unwillingness to meet them. Pay attention to whether there's any effort to understand or meet needs. If you express need and she makes zero effort to address it, if weeks pass without any acknowledgement or attempt to adjust, or if she acts like conversation about needs never happened. The complete lack of follow-through reveals she heard your needs and decided not to prioritize them because you're not her priority anymore. Consider how you feel after attempting to express needs. If you feel guilty for having needs, if you feel like you're asking too much, if you feel dismissed or invalidated, these emotional outcomes reveal she's successfully made your legitimate needs feel illegitimate, so she doesn't have to feel guilty about not meeting them. Making your needs the problem eliminates her responsibility to address them. Conversation 5. The state of the relationship and where this is going. When you try to have the direct conversation about relationship status, where things stand, whether you're on the same page, what you are to each other, or where this is heading, asking clear questions that deserve clear answers about relationship definition and trajectory, and she becomes extremely uncomfortable, deflects aggressively, accuses you of being too serious, or putting pressure on her, or absolutely refuses to have any conversation that would require her to define or commit to the relationship, she's not being commitment phobic or preferring to let things develop naturally. She's avoiding defining the relationship because honest definition would reveal she's not as invested as you are, or commitment would eliminate her flexibility to leave without guilt, or she's actively seeing or pursuing other options, and defining things with you would complicate those other pursuits. What this reveals she benefits from ambiguity and would be harmed by clarity. When relationship definition serves someone's interests, they're happy to define it. When definition would expose them or limit them, they resist it aggressively. Her resistance to relationship clarity reveals that clarity would work against her interests, either because it would reveal investment disparity, require honesty about her lack of serious intentions, or force her to make choice she's not ready to make. Notice how defensive she becomes about relationship definition discussions. If simply asking, "What are we?" triggers defensive response, accusations that you're being pushy, or angry reactions about being pressured, the disproportionate response reveals the question threatens something she's protecting. Genuine partners aren't threatened by relationship clarity discussions. Watch whether she uses your desire for clarity against you. If she frames your reasonable questions about relationship status as you being too serious, too intense, moving too fast, or ruining good thing by needing labels, she's weaponizing your normal desire for clarity to make you feel problematic for wanting standard relationship definition. This reversal serves to shut down conversations she doesn't want to have. Pay attention to how long ambiguity has persisted. If you've been seeing each other regularly for months, and she still can't or won't define what you are to each other. If basic relationship status remains mysteriously unclear, despite significant time investment, the sustained ambiguity is intentional. People who want to build something together clarify what they're building. People who want to keep options open maintain ambiguity. Listen for the specific evasion she uses. If she says, "Why do we need labels? Let's just see what happens. Can't we just enjoy what we have?" Or, "I don't like putting things in boxes." These are all deflections that serve to maintain ambiguity that benefits her while keeping you invested in undefined situation. Each evasion is refusal to give you information you need to make informed decision about continuing investment.